Chapter 5.
This is the time of the show where we'll normally be reading your questions, your comments, and your theories concerning the volume we discussed this week. Since this is a prequel type of episode before the actual Logbook podcast starts in full, we're today going to read some testimonials from you. The two people who are in charge of this segment will be myself, Zach, and...
And I'm Ed. You may remember me from such podcasts as the Full Metal Podcast, or perhaps the One Piece Podcast. And we're going to be calling this segment Piece Together. For those of you who are fans of the One Piece podcast, you may recognize that, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently on this show.
Yes. So what we're going to ask you guys to do to stay in line with us is, between each episode, read a volume, or the next coming volume, not just any volume.
Or watch some anime, or do both.
Or watch some anime, yeah, it does not have to be one or the other. Then ask us whatever questions you may have in mind as you read through the series. So if you're an old-time viewer, ask us some questions, just make sure it's not spoilery. If you're new at watching or reading One Piece, ask us what you think. Ask us about the main character, why did he do this and this, or whatever, and we'll read it on the air. But today, Ed, we're going to start with some testimonials from you guys, the fans of One Piece already, and they're going to tell the new fans, or the up-and-coming fans, as they may be called, why they should get into the series. So you ready for that, Ed?
Indeed. Abigail writes, One Piece is an amazing series for so many reasons. The themes of friendship and family, following your dreams and never giving up. The incredible creativity in the world the story dwells in, from the crazy animals and sea creatures, the many different devil fruit abilities, to all the cool and fun different islands Luffy and the others explore. But of course the thing that to me makes One Piece the huge juggernaut that it is the story and the characters that tell it. Knowing nothing about each of the Straw Hat crew's pasts and finding it out as the story progresses is what got me hooked into the series. We know what they've been through, and this is what makes me love the series, because I can't wait to see them make their dreams come true. Smiley face.
I knew you were going to say that. This one is from Jonathan Buchanan. I personally love One Piece, mostly because of not only the amazing storytelling that Oda can produce, creating a tiny event at the start of the story that has some significance later on, also the wonderful array of characters that he is able to create and still make them unique, even though his drawing style of women still is quite similar. The powers he manages to come up with always manage to astound me. The amazing fight sequences, and also the bond the crew shares with each other. And One Piece is the only series to make me cry over a piece of wood.
And to be fair, Jonathan, that's only hot women. Jackson writes, One Piece is a true adventure story that encompasses the idea of defying the impossible, overcoming unbeatable odds, and having faith in one's friends. It's also about sacrifice and the trials that we have to face in order to accomplish those impossible goals. Yet even so, it's about doing the right thing and standing up for it. Something unlikely to find in a teenage pirate crew. That's why I like One Piece so much.
This one's from Diego. One Piece is a story that is very dear to my heart, and I enjoy every moment of it. I'm enamored with the world, the characters, and the adventure as a whole. I see it as material that lets me escape the monotony of the real world and just laugh and completely sacrifice any logic or reasoning behind the events that occur. I know it's not for everyone, but it's definitely a story that touches people's emotions in one way or another, at some point during its storyline. I praise Oda for the world and characters that he has provided for us as an audience on a weekly basis. Even the stuff he comes up with in the present storyline is astounding when compared to other weekly Jump series. I think that if I had to say what makes One Piece stand out to me, is that it makes me feel like a kid again when I read it. And no other series has been able to do that to me.
Patrick writes, The thing I like about One Piece is that it reminds me of Dragon Ball before Toriyama lost his creative spark around the Frieza saga. It has great action, humor, and adventure. I also love how there is a point to everything in the series, unlike certain other Jump series.
We won't name names.
We already have.
This one's from Tangled in Blue. We're going to some Twitter testimonials. It's a story full of great characters, action, and emotion. Plus it has a story that is always interesting and a unique art style.
OP Junkie 13 writes, "The humor and action make it a great stress reliever. The story is awesome and it taught me to be myself and fight for my beliefs."
And Cheerful Realist rounds us off with this one. "I like One Piece because Oda knows how to balance his storytelling. The humor never takes away from the gravity, and vice versa." So every week we'll be reading, in probably a much more impromptu style, your questions about the volume, your comments about the volume that we're up to that week, and your theories about what's coming next. But we won't tell anything, don't worry, it won't be spoilery. I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you guys out there have to think. Aren't you?
And poems too.
So we will see you next week talking about Volume 1. Remember, that is your assignment. Read Volume 1. We'll see you next week with what you think about it and your questions for new fans out there. Hope to hear from you soon.
Bye.
And now a few words from a very special guest and why you should be watching.
Hey there, this is J. Michael Tatum. You may know me from various things I've done in the anime world, but in One Piece I play both God Inru in the Skypiea arc and Dalton in the Drum Island arc, among many other characters throughout the series that show up here and there, like Soldier A or Duck B. And I just wanted to take a second to talk about what I think is really great about the show. I don't hesitate calling One Piece one of the projects I'm the most proud to have ever worked on, because I think it's a great show. It's actually one of the best animated series I've ever seen in any genre. And it's really hard to encapsulate why, but if as a kid you ever dreamed about being a pirate or you know, anything, or just, you know, those crazy out there journeys to wherever where you would meet incredibly interesting people and characters and cultures, all while, of course, looking for treasure or some crazy goal like that. This is a show that really captures what it was like to be a kid with that kind of imagination, because you can tell it's made by people whose heart is still in the 4th grade, but whose mind is very much in the present. And I love that. I love the show. It takes risks. It's got darkness. It's got romance. It's got a lot of comedy. The characters are incredibly well drawn, both literally and figuratively. They're very just, I don't know, the characters, the way they interact with each other. One Piece as a whole is definitely one of those desert island animes for me. If ever I was forced to go somewhere like, oh, I don't know, let's say the moon, and I could only take a few series with me, One Piece would be the first on that list. So, yes, I love One Piece, and I'm very proud of it. You should watch it too.
Chapter 6.
Hello everyone, my name is Zach, and I am the host of the unofficial One Piece podcast. I made the logbook for new fans, non-fans, and returning fans. This podcast is here to answer some very simple questions for you. What is One Piece about? Is it overrated or underrated? Is it worth the investment? Is it as great as they say, or alternatively, as terrible as they say? When I started the One Piece podcast back in 2009, I had a singular goal: to help make One Piece amongst the most popular shows around the world, to spread the word about this great series, and to explain to those who have not seen it why it's worth every minute of their time. Back in 2007, I was a normal college student who had pretty much fallen out of love with most anime and manga. As a kid, I loved shows like Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing, and really anything Toonami put on. When I was introduced to One Piece, I wasn't exactly dying to see a show that at the time amounted to what now seems like a measly 300 episodes, but I dove in, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In 2009, I decided to create the One Piece podcast with my college friend Ed in order to spread the word about this great series. And it took me just 2 years, think about it, 2 years to go from a reluctant viewer, much like yourself in all likelihood, to probably one of the most vocal supporters of this series. The One Piece logbook is here to fulfill the purpose that I had when I originally made the One Piece podcast. I decided to make this new entity in order to allow fans to listen unafraid of hearing what's going to come next, and to allow us to talk to just you, the non-fan, the new fan, the returning fan, and help walk you through this adventure with us. This podcast is here to be timeless. We hope that you could pick up this episode either a day after it was created or a decade after it was created, in an effort to get yourself, your friend, or even a coworker into this series. One Piece is intimidatingly long. I understand that, trust me. Surpassing the likes of Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, pretty much any long-running anime you could imagine, sans a couple. It even has surpassed shows like The Simpsons in episode counts. I can't even believe that myself. However, it has time and time again proven itself both unique and to have an enormous potential to create new and completely different stories that shock and awe the reader or the watcher. I am thrilled that by listening to this podcast, you have decided to come on this journey with us. Make sure to let us know what you like and what you don't like. If you're confused about something, we'll be here to address it. We'll have a chat room open on our website to address any questions you may have while reading the manga or watching the anime. We also have Twitter, Facebook, and email, all on the website there. onepiecepodcast@gmail.com is our email. You can also call us and leave a message for the podcast, 347-497-6254. This podcast is here to listen to at your own leisure, as I've just said. Take your time in reading a volume and then go on to the next episode of the podcast as soon as you're finished. That's the beauty of the podcasting medium. It's up to you when you want to listen to it. Our episode format in the future will look slightly different than this episode. It'll be more interactive. There'll be more than one person talking at a time. We'll begin with Steven's manga guide pertaining to the volume of the episode. Then Steve will talk about the corresponding anime episodes. We will then enter a roundtable discussion with members of the podcast and hopefully some new fans. And then on the second half of the podcast, we'll have Jason share a theme of this series each episode, and the dude will discuss the nuances of the particular volume being discussed that week. Then we'll round off the show with Ed and I, who will discuss your comments, questions, theories, and maybe play some on the air if you guys send them to us. If you would like to purchase One Piece, it's really quite easy. Go to really anywhere on the internet, offline, online. Go to Amazon.com, WriteStuff.com, a local bookstore or retailer. You'll find it. You can also watch the anime episodes online for free at hulu.com/one-piece or onepieceofficial.com. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to the series and the One Piece world, and we'll see you on the next volume of our discussion on One Piece Volume 1, Romance Dawn. Start from the beginning with us.